mastermind was Aam Aadmi Party's councillor Tahir Hussain, and the clear-cut objective was to target Hindus.
वेल प्लान दंगा था। ताहिर हुसैन का रोल बहुत क्रिटिकल है, बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है। इसने फंडिंग भी मैनेज कराई है।
Namaste, Jai Hind, and thank you for joining us on this edition of the Right Stand. Let me read this out to you right at the top, ladies and gentlemen. The former councillor Tahir Hussain, member of the Aam Aadmi Party and AAP councillor. So the former councillor Tahir Hussain, Riyasat Ali, Gulfam, Shah Alam, Rashid Saifi, Arshad Qayyum, Liaquat Ali, Muhammad Shadab, Muhammad Abid, and Irshad Ahmad, other unknown persons, had the objective to harm Hindus in their body and property. This is what the Delhi High Court has said as it framed the charges against all these accused for the riots in January 2020. More than 2 years, nearly 3 years now, ladies and gentlemen. The hate that was allowed to perpetrate, the hate that manifests, still hurts. There are families still scarred. But the reality is that it was the agenda of Hindu hate, the agenda of Hindu misère, in the garb of the anti-CAA protests. We'll take you through the details, but have a look at these visuals. This was all orchestrating the riot. This is Tahir Hussain in action. The coordinator speaking to everyone. There are visuals of him seen, the footage that's seen by the courts where he's coordinating this armed mob. And where did they all gather? They gathered at his residence. They coordinated at his residence. And what was the objective or who were the targets? It were the Hindu families, Hindu homes, Hindu properties, right in their radar from where they could pelt those missile stuff, petrol bombs and stones. He's on the phone as the mob acted. He's seen walking around, not amidst trying to calm people down. It looks like they all were together in it, and he was orchestrating it while he was on the phone talking to people. The argument given from their side or Tahir's side is that he was trying and call the cops. That was not the case. It just looked like it was coordinated effort. That's what the court has also leaned to believe. Tahir's rooftop was the base. The rooftop was the riot's launch pad. Look at the missiles flowing from the rooftop. They were all gathered there, and look how they had stacked. And it was stacked with sacks and sacks of stones, and it had been plotted for a time being. How many sacks of stones can you get in a short while? Can you get so many stones and collect all of that in a matter of hours, or it would take at least a day or 2 days of planning to try and cart it all, and that too cart it up 3 floors right up to the rooftop and position it at that place from where you could access and pelt over across into the areas where the Hindus were living in that region? That's the question. Arsenal, crates of petrol bombs, sacks full of stones, slingshots, sticks, chemicals in plastic pouches, all of this was at the ready. Can we, even if you decide that you want to do this, will this or will it not take plotting? Will this or will it not take planning, aggregation, monies? There are so many observations. Also, the murder of the IB official, the IB officer's skin. Ankit murdered, the body was dumped in the drain. The charge sheet turns around and says Tahir led the mob that murdered Ankit. The charge sheet says it was a deep conspiracy to kill Ankit. Once again, it was tried, the efforts were made to try and dismiss it as a sorry incident that happened, and it was not Tahir Hussain at all, but it was all plotted. It was all observed. Maro Salon ko were the chants. Target Hindus, harm Hindus in body and property. That's what the court has said as it frames the charges against all these accused. And the mastermind is the former Aam Aadmi Party councillor Tahir Hussain. So this is what the court have said. In the Delhi 2020 riots and the truth that comes out, petrol bombs, stones stored in the house in sacks. Again, second observation, all these things were used to target Hindus as per the Delhi court as it framed the charges. Observation 3, mob participated in targeting Hindus. Observation 4, mob acting out of prior meeting of their mind. It was pre-planned and they all agreed. Clear-cut objective in mind to harm Hindus. Observation 6, criminal conspiracy to harm properties of Hindus. And all accused indulged in targeting Hindus. One particular community was on the radar and they wanted to teach them a lesson, target them, hurt them badly. Observation 8, acts apparently prejudicial to harmony. This is what the court has said and agreed upon as it frames the charges. What will be the level of punishment and conviction? We'll wait and watch. But the larger question is, was hate for Hindus behind the Delhi riots not an anti-CAA system at all? And how is it that there is so much of misya? And how it manifests against those very people who are your very neighbors? Joining us this evening, Vinod Bansal, National Spokesperson of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, Sonali Chitalkar, author, Delhi Riots 2020, The Untold Story, S.N. Srivastavji, former Commissioner of the Delhi Police, Nighat Abbas, activist, and we're also hoping that we will be joined by Madhukar Pandey, the Special Public Prosecutor in this entire Delhi Riots case. But first, I'm going to ask Sonali Chitalkar, you wrote that book, you're the author of Delhi Riots 2020, The Untold Story, Sonali ji. Were all these aspects manifest when you wrote the story?
Certainly. We had gone to the field between 24th to 25th to 26th February. The area was totally under, it was riots and street fights going on. So as a part of civil society, obviously we are not a part of any law enforcement or anything. We went there as a part of civil society. From 29th to February to 10th of March, we made constant visits to that area, and somehow whatever has been said in the court today, we met a number of people, we met residents. The first place that we went to was Tahir Hussein's house. We saw that high-rise building. We spoke to people around. We were not able to speak to Ankit Sharma's family on that day because they were, unfortunately, still involved in the last rites of the young person. But certainly, when we spoke to the people around, we spoke to shopkeepers, we saw the parking lot and it was completely destroyed. And we realized that, a lot of people around were telling us that Tahir Hussein's house was the epicenter of planning and of coordination of not just the ghastly murder of Ankit Sharma, but also of the entire rioting that took place in the Chandbagh area. So certainly, when we spoke to people out there, what we observed on ground certainly corroborates what the High Court has observed today. And very important point, I would say that the High Court has said that the intention was to target the Hindus, and also the intention was to create a condition of disharmony between the two communities. And this came across, we spoke to people from both communities, and this particular point came across from leaders and societies, representatives of both communities. Certainly, whatever we wrote was, it kind of is being manifested in the court's observations.
Do you feel a certain sense of vindication that you put out the truth, the untold story, but there were efforts to pan you, there were efforts to brand you,
Absolutely.
there were efforts to even cancel you out?
Yeah, absolutely. Cancel culture, you will see, is very common. But then as researchers, I told you, we went there simply as researchers, as part of civil society. And I do believe that we played a very important role in highlighting the issues. And certainly, we had a very, very strong voice at that point of time. We did not get cancelled. We certainly were able to put our point across.
S.N. Srivastavji, an elected member as a councillor, was masterminding and orchestrating attacks against a particular community right in the heart of Delhi, and these were people who have been living around that area for many years. Srivastav ji, can you hear me?
Hello. Yeah, I can hear you. Please
So,
carry on.
An elected member, a councillor of a political party that is in power in Delhi. Now he is no longer with them, but he was with them when he was orchestrating this, planning this, and he organized this. And they selected the spot, they selected the group from his own area, but from another community. Maro सालों को, harm Hindus, target Hindus, body and property. This is what is part of the court's observations and order as it frames charges.
Yes.
So it was not about CAA.
Anand, what is the question?
The question is that did we know that this is going to manifest like this? Because there was always denial. It was all said that it is just against the act. There is just a sense of fear that the ruling disposition is out to get Muslims in India. That was the narrative, wasn't it? But this is contrary. And this cannot be a spur of the moment. The evidence itself says this was pre-planned.
Certainly it was pre-planned, and their planning was so concealed that it was the police could not come to know, nor the intelligence could come to know the extent of plan. Of course, they were carrying out agitation against the CA, all that thing, but this was not known to police that they will go to this extent. In fact, during the investigation, we came to know that the real purpose was to embarrass the government. When a foreign dignitary had come to India, at that point of time, they wanted to show that how the population, how the people are so against the enactment of CAA. So that is why they created a situation. They rather engineered. The condition was not exactly what they wanted to present. They engineered the riots in such a way that they provoked, initially by targeting the policemen who are actually in the field. And on 24th morning, what happened was it started from before, but to give fillip to the riots, what they did was that they kidnapped 2 policemen who had gone on a particular call. And as a result of which more policemen had gone there, and they started throwing stones. Policemen were injured, and thus started the initial phase. It was a policeman and the one community which were injured, which later on the riots spread to other regions also.
So, you're saying just to embarrass the ruling disposition, they were ready to take a driver wedge between communities and right in the heart of Delhi, and target innocents, target the people with whom they have walked in out of houses, gotten into buses together, bought from the same shops, lived in the same area. But if you want to embarrass the government, let's just go ahead and target those who are supposed to be our own neighbors. Is this wedge driven so deep in Delhi? Is that the truth, or did it take you by surprise also, Srivastav ji?
Well, a lot of it was by surprise, because as I mentioned to you initially, that they concealed their plans in such a way that it was difficult for us to really know that this is what they have planned. We anticipated some trouble, but the extent of their planning was not known because it was hidden and it was concealed within themselves. People like there were, as you know, we registered a case of criminal conspiracy in which the main leaders were arrested, and there again the charge sheet has been filed against them. And after that, once the conspiracy was hatched, there was number of major incidents which was also investigated. As a sum total of these investigation, what we came to know about is that the plan was to embarrass the government, and for embarrassing the government, they drove wedge between the two communities, caused so much of anarchy, harm, killing 53 people and injuring more than 400 persons in this Delhi riots.
Well, what the other aspect is, you want to embarrass the government, but then there has to be some deep-rooted messiah for those who are non-Muslims or a different community. They are Hindus here, Hindus who are targeted. Madhukar Pandeyji, namaste, thank you. Can you hear me? Can you take us through what happened in court? Because there have been strong arguments to counter the claims being made by the prosecution. The defense has said that he was trying to stop it and he got caught in this entire crossfire.
You know, the whole riots, even his planning was very calculative, in as much as he made 6 calls during 2 days to police, and he told them that save me, but at the same time he was not leaving that place, number one. In the night of 24th, intervening night of 24th, 25th, he removed his family from that premises to his in-laws' house in Mustafabad, but didn't go himself. And all along he was seen on the roofs with his brother Shah Alam and other accused persons. So actively participating in, and I mean, like you said in the initial stage, that you don't have so much of stones and so much of bottles with Molotov bottles, basically.
Molotov cocktail.
As was seized. Molotov cocktail, which was used to cause fire, arsing all along. So this was very disturbing. This was very disturbing, and it was all cooked up. And the planning was writ large, not only here, but for the planning and call the conspiracy. There is another case going on, which is larger conspiracy case. There is a larger conspiracy case, and which is going on. So that court will decide regarding the larger conspiracy. So far as these 2 FIRs, in which the court has directed framing of charges against Tahir Hussain and other 9 accused persons.
Right.
These FIRs pertain to his rioting and arsoning and other offences that were committed by him.
But in this also they said it is a meeting of their minds. So they already had agreed upon what they wanted to do. So does that also include what they did with Ankit? Because there was absolute denial, saying Tahir had tried to say that I was not even there. How can you blame me and how can you drag me into this?
It was right in front of his house, and there are witnesses, statement of witnesses who say that he was moving in and out of the house. He was near the masjid there, and he was in front of his house, and the spot of incident or the crime that was committed in case of Ankit Sharma, where he received more than 50 injuries, out of which more than 10 injuries were sufficient in natural course to cause death. Such brutal was the injury, and the play and the body was thrown barely 20 yards away from his house. And he was, as it was seen on 24th and 25th, both the days, Tahir Hussain was physically present in that place, and he was instigating. There is a statement of witnesses. We are relying on the statement of those witnesses.
So the witnesses have come out and offered this, that Tahir was there, he was aware what was going on and he wanted it. And he was also, and the court has agreed to that as it frames the charges, that he was also shouting Maro Salo ko.
At this stage, yes. The court has definitely believed in, because at the stage of charge, when we are arguing on charge, the statement of witnesses has to be taken at that face value.
But there are call records, there are also videos that have been made, and of course the entire sack of arsenal. Madhukarji, I'm just going to go across to Vinod Bansal and then bring in Nigat Abbas, and then I'll come back to you. Vinod Bansalji, the VHP has been right since the beginning saying that this was planned. This is not spontaneous. Today, there are books that have come out, there are documentaries that have come out, and now the courts have also accepted what the police and the prosecution has placed as evidence in front of it.
Anandji, from the it was a larger conspiracy being in a well-planned manner, and there is a group of people who have made this all plan. You see, if the plan was not there, how so much of stones and stones sacks were arranged on the top of the roof, and how the chemical weapons were arranged at the same place, how the plastics and the petrol bomb and the gulol was also installed at the top of this house, and how many people were there on the rooftop. We have all seen about from the videos and the evidences we put before the Honorable Court. And from the day when we are saying that it was not the right, it was really the attack on Hindus. And now the court has confirmed it. We have been saying that riots comes from both ends, but here no other end was there. The other end was just to protecting themselves. But the attacks were being well planned, and attacks were being made from the Muslim side only. And this Tahir Hussain, who was the councillor at the time, and the party was this well planned way protecting that person, was also the part of the larger conspiracy. The way they put before this parking lot on fire. The way they were putting using the gulol and the petrol bombs and throw it out to the Hindu families and the Hindu houses. We have clearly seen that how the bodies were dumped into this nala nearby the place, and we have found that so many dead bodies were recovered from that nala, and the way the Tahir Hussain was protecting those people and making the conspiracy to call on the police and seeking the help. It was only the IBAS, and to conceal his conspiracy and say that I was calling the police to protect the person. But it was not the reality. The reality was that so many Hindus were burnt alive, so many Hindus were attacked, so many the large number of property of Hindus were being.
But you are saying that this whole thing was one-sided. You are saying that what you are alleging is that there were no riots. This was just pre-planned attack by one community or one particular leader of a particular community, and he had planned this and he decided to target because the larger objective, there is a larger conspiracy, a deeper conspiracy. But where was this so much of hate manifest that you are okay to go ahead and target? SN Srivastava wants to come in. Yes, Srivastava ji.
Yes. No.
Vinod ji, मैं वापस आता हूँ. मैं जरा Srivastava ji से वो दो तीन बार he's raised his hand and then I'll come back to you. Yes, Srivastava ji.
Anand, on the issue of whether it was well planned, I would like to say that apart from this specific case, there were many other cases, and in all the cases there is one theme or one conspiracy which cuts across all the cases. And here the reason why we say that this is well planned and there was a conspiracy is because the planning had started long time back. Now, first one, that they had a WhatsApp group, and the WhatsApp group was started many days before, and there was a conversation of what to do, how to do. All these things was mentioned. Number two, there were some instructions, the copy of which we received, of how to like just in case of in case of a riot, when the riot takes place, what all things that every household will plan for. I mean, they should have petrol bombs. They should have oil which is hot oil,
burning
which
hot,
can be poured, and various other things. Various other things that they should prepare for, plan for fighting against the other community in case they oppose or they attack. So the WhatsApp group was started not at that point of time on 23rd or 24th of February, but started much earlier. So this is one reason why we say that it was well-planned attempt for Riot. Number two, in this case, we had eyewitnesses account and account of those who were in know of things when it was planned and how it was actually implemented. So, and these eyewitness account and account of such people who were aware of it were recorded not by the police. It was recorded in the courtroom by the honorable magistrates. And in such recording, the police is not present. The magistrate records the statement in his own handwriting. It is not typed also. To exclude the presence of anybody else, it is handwritten. Number three, there was CCTV coverage. I mean, there are some coverage which is the cameras which are already on the road. Number two, there were, for example, from media also, and there are cell phones galore all over the city which captured video footings of how the riots were conducted. There were call records. So all this thing goes to prove that it was well planned. There was conspiracy to cause maximum damage and maximum killing so that the government is embarrassed.
No, but the government is embarrassed for what? Hindus are targeted for what reason? Why is it that, you know, there are books and there are researchers like Sonaliji and in other books, other people who have said that there were children who were pulled out of school before midday and they were not, and they were taken away to safer places. Like Tahir Hussain sent his family away from that area is what is there in the records. Nigat Abbas, what was the reason? And who decided? Was there politics involved? Or is it just one particular group which decided that they want to do something? For what?
Anand, we can't miss the fact that when this so-called protest against CAA and NRC was taking place, the political party which was in complete support of these protests and the protesters were Aam Aadmi Party. We've seen leaders going there and promoting the slogans like Jinnah Wali Azadi, promoting them to demean swastika and many other things. So that was again a series of events which was taking place. Now, when Tahir Hussain was being a part of it, and now when he is proven guilty, why aren't we supposed to, I really think personally that we are bound to believe that there is the political party, Aam Aadmi Party, which has been involved in this religiously. Reason being, it is obviously a party which has always given empowerment to the appeasement politics, which has always given empowerment to a community and tried to create a mental diarrhea in their mind. So that is the kind of reality which we've been, seeing by Aam Aadmi Party. Clearly it was involved. Clearly there were elections, which is why they wanted to create these kind of events which would, bring them the votes, and that is the reason. It was all planned in a set propaganda, which is why children were called off, which is why Tahir obviously sent his family away, which is why we saw his rooftop was filled with such things which would create ruckus and violence. It was obviously a plan. The senior leadership was involved in it. Had it been the senior leadership was not involved, I am quoting Aam Aadmi Party senior leadership here, if it was not involved, Tahir wouldn't have been able to do such things. I mean, I can't even think of a Nigam Parshad, a councillor involving in such a big riot which goes across not only in Delhi but across the country in many parts of a different state. So that was something which was planned nationally by the opposition, Aam Aadmi Party being the leader to it, and then Congress and other political parties in the opposition, which led it in different
Was it, would you want to lay the blame squarely on a political party or perhaps an entity or an ecosystem or perhaps a grouping that were unhappy with the events that build up post 2019 elections? Because this has happened in January 2020. Sonaliji, I because you've researched it, was there a build-up to teach a lesson because certain things happened? 370 got abrogated. There was a judgment on Ram Janmabhoomi.
Sir.
There was a overwhelming mandate that was given to Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the BJP again. So it was a series of things which happened. There were also the labor reform or labor laws that were going to be brought in. So a lot of things which were being talked about at that time. Between August, May and December 2019, a lot happened. CAA.
Yeah, you're very right. Certainly, a lot of the panelists have, a lot of the panelists have also put things in perspective. You have already said that there was a very, very huge mandate which was taken by the BJP, and then since December 2019, you've talked about this, why this hate. Since December 2019, this hatred was out on the streets of the roads. This wedge was being created between the two communities. We have written in our book, we have foiled our research around the larger political and national and international context that was emerging. And certainly the context of Delhi elections, certainly the context of the CAA. So this wedge was systematically created, and you use the word ecosystem. I will clearly use the word, we have mentioned it in the book, the urban Naxal ecosystem. And all across universities, all across wherever possible, this wedge was created, and certainly the anti-CAA protest sites which had been built up very systematically in all these key areas. The book has laid out the entire